Welcome to the Great Girlfriends podcast, where we discuss life, love, laughter, and everything in between. We're your hosts. I'm Sybil Amuti.
And I'm Brandis Daniel.
And before we jump into this week's episode of the podcast, make sure you sign up for our newsletter at
thegreatgirlfriends.com.
And don't forget to leave us an amazing iTunes review.
Yes, that is the payment for listening to this podcast.
I love it. 5 stars all the way. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Guys, we are so excited about our episode today because we have the Angela Manuel Davis.
I'm happy to be here.
Such a great treat. And so I don't know if you remember, I met you during Restoration Weekend with Michelle Hargrove during a class. When I came back, I told everyone how this class changed my life. I was like, I took it once, and and her approach to fitness changed my life. And then you and Brandis were together in LA. So you guys have also shared the Nike platform together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I've never done a panel like that, and I've never forgotten it.
Thank you. Yeah, it was special. Both of those moments were special.
Yeah, I'm like, for people to be near tears at an LA brunch, like with all kind of heart and feelings, that I haven't seen that happen. So
right.
You ushered that in.
Thank you.
So congratulations. We know you're in your new chapter, and I told Brandon she's on a soul cycle, so she's moving into her new chapter of life, and what the next chapter holds, I'm sure will be even more amazing. So we wanted to today grab you if we have you for roughly 25 minutes to talk about you as a fitness evangelist. And I love when you said that, because I do feel like what you approach is more of an inside out spiritual wellness, and it's more of a wholeness perspective. So we wanted to tackle that for our audience and to understand why it's not just about getting on a bike or approaching the gym, without any kind of mental mindset. It's about the inside work that you really speak to, and some of the things with the AMDIO method that you think are specific that women should know.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me, and thank you for even being interested. And, physicality is, what we carry ourselves on this earth. This physical body is a gift, first of all. The fact that we can move, and the fact that we have movement and breath and all of those things is a blessing, and something to not take for granted whatsoever. But the way that I look at it and the way that I approach it is the body is also a gift, but the body is also what holds the gift. And so, I don't look at training clients or training athletes as so much as, what they look like, as much as how strong can we get in our body that houses the gift. How long can we, what do we need to do to stay healthy so we can be around for our babies and our babies' babies? So how do we switch it? How do we flip it and take it off of the vanity piece? Take it off of the 6-pack, take it off of, the butt, take it off of, how do we take it off of that? And how do we get to a place where, what do we need to do in our life? What kind of movement do I need to incorporate in my life to stay strong enough in my body to do the gift, to stay strong enough in my body to live in purpose, to stay strong enough in my body to stay healthy? And so that really is my approach. And with that approach, understanding that, the first change that has to happen is from, the inside out. That's the first change that has to happen. Like, this isn't superficial. This isn't, it has to be deeper than that in order for it to be sustainable. So that is something that I've understood was necessary to address.
Angela, where does this come from? Where does your knowledge of purpose-driven fitness even begin?
I think for me, So, I was a professional athlete. I ran track for Nike. I, traveled the world running for, USA and I understood very clearly. I understood what it was. I understood that was a gift for me to have the speed that I had. And I understood that when I operated in that gift, that I was ultimately giving that gift back to the gift giver and honoring the gift giver, that I was honoring the gift giver when I was operating in my gift. And so that was something that, like, understanding that and that feeling, that type of fulfillment that you get when you're like, whoa, I'm like honoring the gift giver. I'm like giving back what was given to me. That feeling of fulfillment, there's not many others that compare. And so we get to feel that every day. Like we can operate in that every single day. Like every single day we can do what we were intended to do, but we can't do what we were intended to do if we have these physical limitations. And to me, that's, a tragedy that for some can be avoidable. And so I just have made it my mission to inform and educate and really help people that understand that and want that.
What do you think, Angela? So I first met you at that Nike event in LA, but I had heard of you before. And when people talk about kind of the impact your class has had on their life, it's super deep, right? It's very deep, and you've probably worked with at least thousands of people at this point. What do you think? Because we have mostly women who are listening to our podcast of all different races and background. What is the one thing you think hold women back in particular?
I think I heard this really beautiful thing. Brene Brown said it. She said, what is the difference between those that achieve their goals and those who don't? And the ones that do feel worthy, of them. And I feel like that's what holds us back, is that we don't always feel worthy of our best life. We'll do whatever it takes to provide that for somebody else, but we don't always, as women, feel worthy of it for ourselves.
Well, that's what, when you talk about the gift and recognizing the gift on the inside and bringing it forward, I think that's that root piece where we have to first, recognize and honor that there's a gift that we each possess, and that it's our honor, or it's a privilege of ours to live it out each day. And I know in our community, we hear so many people still on that discovery of what is my gift? What is my purpose? So for people who are in that search phase, I could see how they can mask that discovery with weight and excess and, habits and things like that. And ultimately we wake up feeling unworthy. It's like we start at the same point that we're cycling back to the same thing. And what I'm hearing you say is press through the discovery process, by incorporating, incorporate the body, and allow the mind and body to align for that exchange. But Angela, what about the woman who says, I don't have time? I know you hear that. And I know you could probably say that because you have a full family and children and everything. So what about that I don't have time?
I mean, we make time for what is important, and even if it is waking up 15 minutes earlier, and just 15 minutes, like if it's, waking up just, before the kids wake up, before, while the house is still quiet, and for some people who wake up super, super early already, and, that 15 minutes is like, but if it's just like 15 minutes of, I'm going to get up, I'm going to, on the side of my bed, I'm going to do some squats, some lunges, some jumping jacks, some sit-ups. And like, if it's just doing something, if I'm going to stand here and march and, if it's just something, and that 15 minutes, if you can just wake up a little bit early every morning, you will begin to enjoy how you feel because of that. And for sure, you will make more time than just that 15 minutes. So it just starts with just starting, just, setting the alarm just a little bit earlier and just putting yourself first, prioritizing yourself. For me, the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning, it's not, looking at the phone or, checking emails or doing anything. It's just thank you. When my eyes open, the first thing out of my mouth is thank you. Thank you that I am, brought through to see another day. Thank you. So I start, this morning, for me is with gratitude. And then that gratitude piece can be that whole, mantra and that whole, chant, that whole prayer. You can have this whole gratitude piece as you are getting out of the bed and moving, and turn that, into this active, almost like an active prayer for 15 minutes. Like, you can't tell me that your days won't be different. You can't tell me that setting a tone like that won't set you up in a different way, but it's really making the time. It's funny. I was talking to one of my really good friends is Tyler Perry, and I remember there was this time where he was super, like, 7 days a week, like going, and I'm like, friend, like, he was working every single day and works really, where he's one of the hardest working humans that I know, and he was working really hard, and I was like, how are you doing this? How are you doing all this? And his response to me was, no one told me I couldn't. And so whoever she is, she needs to tell herself she can't, or no one told her she couldn't. She can do this. She can do it. She can give herself 15 minutes. She can prioritize herself. She can get strong in her body so that she can get strong in her mind and end up changing her life and living a life that she was called, created, and intended to. She can do this. There's nothing holding her back. There's nothing stopping her. She can get outside of herself and separate herself and get uncomfortable. Her comfort zone will not serve her. It will not change her. She can get uncomfortable. It's hard. It's hard at first, but you have the time that you make.
Yeah. Which is so true and powerful. And when we recognize that we're not being punished with the time that we have, I think we start seeing the importance of the discipline that you're speaking of, which it is a work. It's a constant work, but it's so worth it, because I know I wake up feeling super sluggish some days when I've not been eating right and been excessively working and not starting my mornings and not having a routine and just not even putting a discipline forward. And I feel the automatic difference when I appropriate the time automatically.
Absolutely. It's a shift. It's just literally a shift. So I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
In addition to gratitude, because I had read that somewhere too, Angela, it was saying, like, wake up and as soon as you open your eyes, say, I'm so happy and grateful for. And so you just list all of these things. I can feel my morning shift even as I wake up, kind of saying those things in my head, and then eventually I say them out loud. Are there some other tangible things that you do in your life that keeps you inspired and that keeps you motivated and driven? Because one of the questions we get a lot of times is, how do you guys stay motivated? And I would love to know, how does Angela stay motivated?
Well, I think, it's important who you surround yourself with. Do you have people around you? You're the total sum of the 5 closest people to you. So who are the people around you? Who are the people around you? Are they individuals that are speaking to your gift? Are they individuals that are willing to lift your hands up when you feel like so tired that you can't lift your own hands? Are they individuals that are willing to row your boat for you? Are they poking holes in your boat? Are they telling you that, you can't because they feel like they can't? It's for me, it's surrounding myself with people that keep me encouraged and uplifted as I do for them. I stay fed, I listen to worship music all day. So I just, as my kids are getting ready for school, like, in the background, right? So it's just always on. But I stay fed, if it's like my time alone in the car, if it's in a commute or whatever, it's just whatever I can do to stay fed, to stay full, because we can't give it if we don't have it, and so
Yes.
I think me staying motivated and inspired is me making sure that I stay full and staying fed so that I have something to give. And, I said the people around in my life are important. And then I feel like I'm a bit of a creative, so for me, like I'm inspired by art and I'm inspired by, museums and gallery visits. And I'm inspired, by beauty and creativity. If you think about it, we were created by the ultimate creator and we were created in his image. We're all creative. We're all, we all have this. And so I think like seeing creativity, being around creative people, inspires me and motivates me.
So a big part of that, Angela, is what you brought to the environment for 8 years at SoulCycle was the way that you approached the class and the instruction that you gave. It was so much more than the bike. I just felt like we could have been anywhere in the world and having this master experience with you that transcended the fitness. It was just about life. And so I know you're in a new chapter. Congratulations on moving into a new chapter of your life. But I imagine it was kind of scary. Was it a scary pivot? Was it exciting? What was the feeling behind your pivot?
Yeah, it was scary.
Yeah,
it was so scary. Yeah, I mean, listen, like I even told the class this. It wasn't like I was walking away from SoulCycle after nearly 8 years, and it wasn't like the classes were empty or we were having a hard time filling them, or there wasn't a wait list. Like this was the height. Like we never had enough bikes for the amount of people that showed up. You know what I mean? Like this wasn't, I wasn't just leaving, a regular experience. And I shared that with them. I said, it's hard to be courageous when things are this good. That's hard.
Right.
It's so hard to be courageous when things are this good. Are you kidding me? But I still knew that, that there was higher that I was called to reach and wider I was called to stretch. And, you get to a point where you can't not, I can't not pursue all that I was called and intended to be. I can't not, like, as good as this is, like, I can't not go. I can't not go. And I just got to that point. And at that point, there's just no turning back. Like, there's just no turning back. And, there's a couple weeks between the time that I announced and the time of my last class. And, after that announcement, it was hard. It was, a lot of, crying and emotions and, every class, it almost seemed like every class someone was coming up, well, this is my last one with you here. This is my, and thank you for what it's been. And then all of a sudden you're hearing these stories and these testimonies of what it's been, and then you're, and even trying to, and that's one thing, like, I don't think all of that is for us to know. Like, I don't think we're humanly wired to really know our impact. Like, I don't think that's really for us. Because it's so, it can be hard to try and like even process really, like, what do you mean? What do you mean this saved your life? Like, what do you mean? And to even try and process that, like, is something that I don't really stay in that space, right? So, you're getting all of that, you're getting the emotions of the ending of this chapter, but I'll tell you, by that last class on that last day, and it was so beautiful because the last class was on October 11th. And just a couple days prior to that, October 6th, I was at, I was at Tyler Perry's studio, his grand opening. And on the 6th, Bishop Jakes preached at a gospel brunch, and he preached about his message. He talked about when you get to mastery, when you get all the way to 10 and you're at mastery, when you're mastering, what you do in this craft, true greatness is when you're willing to go back down to 1, when you're willing to go back and start all over and walk in a place where they don't even know your name. Like, it was just it was unbelievable, this message that was forth just a couple days before. He said, so when you're at 10 and you're willing to go back to 1, or when you're at 10 and you're willing to break through to 11. And I finished that last class on 10/11, and I tell you what, like, I knew without a shadow of a doubt there was just a sense of, like, I couldn't have finished on Tuesday of that week or Wednesday of that week. It needed to be that Friday. It needed to be 10/11, and it was finally at that moment and at that time there was just this feeling of completion, like the assignment was complete. And I'm so grateful for that, because you can know that it's time to go, but to actually be gifted with that, to actually feel completion, I was blown away. I was actually blown away. And so,
that's so powerful.
So it feels good, and I'm excited. And I think we go through so much. The last message that I had on that Friday, we were talking about pushing up a mountain, and I ended up reading this devotion to the class. I don't have it with me right now, but we were talking about, in this devotion, was talking about how there's moments where you feel, like it's just, you can only feel God's hand as you're getting to the top of this mountain. And you get to the top of this mountain to come up and to experience the light. It's almost like there's this explosion of sight that happens only from this particular mountaintop. So it's like only from this particular challenge that you go through will you see what you need to see, and it's different. So think about, like, different mountains have different views depending on where they're located or how high they are. And think of challenges as those mountains. And so there's a different view that you experience from the top of each. So it's almost like a different revelation or a different lesson that we learn at the top of each of these mountains. And it's like we receive this light and this revelation. And what we're to do is we're to go back down the backside of the mountain and rejoin the community and share the light. And so we're supposed to rejoin the community and share what we've learned and share the lesson. And it was basically what tied up that whole 8 years. Like, that room has represented mountains for so many people and challenges. And there's been times where people have come in that room in the darkest seasons of their life, and they've seen the light, and they've gotten the revelation, and they've gotten the healing, and they've gotten whatever they needed. And you cannot unsee what you've seen, or you can't act like you didn't see what you saw. And now it is your responsibility to go back out and share what you saw. And that's what this chapter has been. And it's been beautiful.
Wow. Angela.
I know.
Oh, my goodness.
You should see, like,
oh my goodness. When is the book coming out? There has to be this amazing devotional or this amazing, like, piece of work that kind of embodies all of this, Angela, because you just have a power. You have the master's touch. And it's something about when a person can, in one word or one sentence, capture specifically what you need. It's a grace, it's an anointing. We understand all of that. And I know that you also have a method that's out that we'd love to know about. If you don't mind sharing a bit about the AMDIO method with our audience.
Yes. So there'll be a book out in 2020. Hopefully. I am, like, literally in edits right now. And it is maybe one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life is write a book. But
congratulations.
Thank you. And AMDIO is it's it's just me. It's Angela Manuel Davis, change from the inside out. And it's just, how I train and how I coach. I really, tackle the inside and make it more about the physical. And shortly, there will be an announcement made, soon on a new endeavor. So I can't speak of it just yet, but the world will know for sure.
And we're all waiting.
So amazing. We're all waiting. We are all waiting. So, Angela, where should we keep up with you? Where should everyone make sure they follow? Give us all that information.
I think all the social handles are great. I think my Instagram, Angela Manuel Davis. It's ANGELAMANUEL Davis, DAVIS. I think that's best. I'll have I'll keep everyone updated, and then there will definitely be ways to support. There's really cool projects happening, but I'll keep everyone informed through social channels.
Maybe once your project comes out, Angela, you can come back on the podcast and talk about the new project and how we can support.
Sure. I love that.
That
it's
would
so
be
funny
awesome.
because it's to be honest with you, I've had a lot of requests for podcasts, and I took them all off of my calendar but I kept you guys on because I really wanted to talk to you guys. But so
glad.
But I will have to come back.
Angela, I feel like when you're talking, I just have to soak everything up. So much of what you say literally speaks to my spirit. And I do. And I love the light that you clearly exhibit. Like, I think that's the thing. Me and Sybil talk about that a lot, is that, people think that they have to, and our listeners know that we're Christians, and people think that you have to hide your light in certain spaces. And I love that you show that you can take your light anywhere. Like, your light goes where, people think the light has to stay in church, but the light goes in the fitness industry, the light goes in coaching industry, the light goes in the fashion industry.
Yeah.
The light goes wherever you take it. And so thank you so much for just being a light. You're such an inspiration to us. And
you guys are too. It was my pleasure to be here.
I'm telling you sincerely. Angela, I don't know. Listen, after that class, I left and I went to, Sherry Salata. And Brandon, you remember I told you this story.
Yep.
I went to Sherry's house.
Yes.
And I was like, so Sherry, I just had the most amazing, I'm telling her about you, right? Like, I'm fresh off the press because this is what I do when something amazing happens.
Yeah.
And I'm like, have you heard of this woman? Do you know this woman?
That's
my
so
gosh, Sherry. And Sherry was like, wait,
so
my
funny.
Angela?
Exactly.
She's like, Sybil, I'm the one that met Angela years ago. I'm like, oh my God. I had put 0 dots together, but I'm like, Sherry, I know you're on a weight loss journey. This woman is the one. And she was like, what are the odds that, Angela, you have that touch, that grace, and I'm sure you know it, but it doesn't hurt to hear it reinforced. But it doesn't take much for you. It is.
Sherry Salata asked me one very important question, which literally changed my life. Sherry Salata, who you were speaking of, she asked me, she said, we are creating this tour for Oprah. We're going to travel around 8 cities and across the country. She said, can you, after what you experienced, after a class, she said, can you do what you just did with no bikes for 15 minutes in front of 15,000 people? And before I even knew what that meant or looked like, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Right.
Wow.
Absolutely. Yes.
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 So yeah, Sherry is very, 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 it's crazy when you look back at your life at these like pivotal moments where like people, where you have this intersection with certain individuals that literally, change your life. And that was one of those moments for me where, where my life changed, in the sense of my faith was was challenged, and I knew the answer was yes before I knew what it looked like. And that, in answering yes to that kind of question, set me up for an elevated faith journey. It's like I had been on this faith journey. Now all of a sudden I'm on this elevated faith journey, and the Soul Cycle room has represented an elevated, and it's like, and that's what happens. It's like we go from glory to glory, like higher and higher. And that was just like a step up in my faith journey, where I had to believe and trust that what I was feeling was yes, without knowing what that meant and what that looked like. And I posted that a while back. Is faith is an action. Faith is actually moving towards something that you don't even totally see or understand, but you still are physically pulled forward. It's an action. Faith is an action, and so my body physically responded to that yes. It was almost like I jumped out of my body, like, yes.
Wow.
So Sherry's very important to me. She's very important to my walk and my journey, because she challenged me. And she put me in a situation where I had to lean in like I've never had to lean in before. And I'm grateful for that.
I love it. This next lean is going to be amazing. I'm ready. We'll be married to IG waiting on that announcement here so we can support it and continue to support your evangelism. Is so much bigger than the outside. It really is so purpose driven. So your great girlfriends are fully supportive, and I thank you so much. We thank you for your time and just everything you're doing. It just feels good to even go to a class and know that your instructor spirit led was just like, okay, wow, there it is. And then to hear you taking it higher is just even better. So congratulations.
Well, thank you. Thank you, great girlfriend.
We could not end this podcast without thanking our amazing husbands.
Yes, thank you, Kwaku.
And thank you so much, Rich Daniel.
And our beautiful children. Thank you, Sam and Dylan.
And thank you, Miss Sky Daniel.
And thank you to all of you, great girlfriends, for trusting us as your go-to source for everything life, love, and laughter.
You can check us out on our social, on Instagram,
The Great Girlfriends,
on Twitter,
_Great GFS,
and on Facebook,
The Great Girlfriends.
And please make sure that you join our Facebook group, which is over 16,000 women strong.
Absolutely. And make sure you listen every single Wednesday on iTunes, Spotify, Podcast Bean, Podcast Republic, Google Play, and every other podcasting service.
Absolutely.
Be sure to post your questions, share with your friends. Keep listening and keep being a great girlfriend. I'm Sybil.
And I'm Brandon.
And we're signing off.
Peace.
Peace.